The only friend I made in the town lay dead at my feet. My son clung to my side, face buried in the bloody cloth of my shirt. I could hear a wasp buzzing against one of the sheet trays, but beyond that, the entire party was completely silent. Missy Jackson scowled down at the corpse she had just made. The act of murder appeared to have calmed her. She was no longer a warning shade of red. Beside her, Spencer Jackson was ghost white. "Sweetums," he said slowly, "you just killed Mr. Clown." "His name was Arthur," I said. Nobody seemed to hear me. Missy tossed her head. "Who cares? He's just a clown." Ah, yes. The precious speech impediment had been an act she now dropped completely. Spencer shook his head. "You can't do that. You just can't." Missy humphed. "You should have got me the boy when I said, 'It's my birthday. If you don't get me what I want, I'll blow up.'" I'm sure Spencer Jackson had been through scenes like this probably thousands of times over his daughter's long, spoiled life. And, like many occasions before, I'm sure he looked for someone to blame for his daughter's actions. And he lifted his gaze to find me and my son. Spencer's face hardened and he drew himself up to full height. "Well," I didn't answer. I just stared at him. I could feel the tension of the children behind my back. It was like a pile of hot kindling. All it needed was a spark somewhere, and it would flash into a raging inferno. Spencer dared to take a few steps towards us. "You've got a lot to make up for. What do you have to say for yourself?" I stayed silent. He seemed to take courage from my lack of speech. "We have a nice little community here. No one's ever had a problem with it before you. We opened our arms to you after you drove your husband away, and this is how you repay us? Who do you think you are?" I licked my lips. I tasted copper. He dared to take a few more steps. "I want an answer, and I want it now. How are you going to make this up to us? How are you going to fix this?" I opened my mouth. Laughter poured out. Spencer took a step back. I bent double, cramping with the force of my mirth. "Fix this?" I gasped. "Fix this? Fuck you, fix this." Spencer turned an ugly red, just as his daughter had. He snapped his fingers, and suddenly Clanton Cop Ted appeared, big and blond and intimidating. He unholstered his gun and pointed it at my chest. I could see the eagerness in the way he held his arm, practically trembling with excitement at the thought of shooting me. Still laughing, I turned and slapped Missy Jackson across the face. I didn't do it very hard, but she still fell back. It was probably more shock than anything else. I don't think in her whole life anyone had dared to lay hands on her. She took a few seconds to process what had just happened. Her breath came fast and faster with every intake. Missy took one long breath and screamed. Higher and higher it went, like a kettle shooting out steam. Her face went red. She put her hands out and ran at me. At the last second, I turned aside and let her run into the children's fence. She hit it, with her eyes closed, winding up tangled in the plastic bars. Missy rose up swinging, punching a boy in the face. That was it. The children erupted into violence, fighting a battle 1,000 times more savage than any playground. They clawed at each other, steaming red faces, pulled hair, bit limbs. A stray tooth hit me in the arm. What adults were left in the area fled as soon as Missy crashed the fence. I saw Big Bad Cop Ted winging it over the lawn chairs in the lawn. A few doomed souls had taken cover under the deck as if it would somehow shield them. My strange calm had made everything seem like it was happening in slow motion. I noticed my son had left my side. It occurred to me I should find him. I waded through the melee looking for Joshua. I found him locked in a terminal battle with another boy who usually flanked Missy Jackson. Joshua? Joshua, I'm leaving, I called over the carnage. He looked up briefly and then went back to gouging the boy's eyes with his thumbs. I spied a woman's purse that had dropped and trampled. I opened it and found makeup. I knew what to do with that. I scooped up 2 fingers of blue eyeshadow and ground it into my right eyelid. Again and again, the lipstick in the purse was bright red. I scribbled a banana shape around my lips, filling it in with thick strokes. With the lip liner pencil, I drew pink eyebrows. Joshua, I called, straightening up. Look at Mommy. He looked up briefly, and then back at his prey. Then he looked up again. His puzzled face turned into joy. Look at Mommy, I said in my best clown voice. Joshua dropped the other boy and ran to me, dodging assaults from every side. He reached me with his eyes shining in pure excitement. Mommy, he yelled. Bop! He hit me right in the nose. My head snapped back and my eyes watered. Still, I kept that smile on my face. Follow me, Joshua, I said. Follow Mommy. I did a funny little backwards walk, beckoning my son. He followed, pinwheeling his arms, trying to land a punch on me again as he giggled. That's good, Spencer Jackson called to me from beneath the deck. That's very good, Denise. Now come here and do the rest. I continued my backwards walk, eyes on Joshua, always on Joshua. Denise! Spencer's tone grew desperate. Mrs. Hughes! I backed onto the empty green lawn. The people beneath the deck called, shouting to my son to come back. Spencer offered Joshua Missy's birthday presents. Miss Letty said she would be his new mommy. She would let him have all the chalky milk he would ever want. A man screamed that he would be a clown, and he would be much better clown than me if we'd only come back. At the mouth of the Jacksons' large driveway, a traffic jam had formed. Instead of abandoning their cars and fleeing, the frantic people leaned out of their windows to scream at each other. One enterprising man had the bright idea of crashing his car into the jam, perhaps thinking it would clear it. I still could hear screams and shattering glass behind me when I left the mansion behind. We ran. I made a game of it. Told Joshua we were racing to the hills. When he fell, I picked him up. We did not foul the spiral of the road, but cut a straight line through the yards and fences. I do not know why no one else left the town. Perhaps they underestimated the coming explosion. Perhaps they truly felt their town would keep them safe after all of this time, and died clutching at their denial. We watched it happen from far above. The explosion was like a bomb going off, shattering windows of every building in town. Joshua watched the fire spread with bright eyes. Pretty, he said. Half the town was leveled, no survivors except for my son and myself. That was 30 years ago. Joshua was 7 then. He is still 7 now. He will be 7 for the rest of his life. My ex-husband died in a car crash 10 years ago, skidding into a highway barrier, while his soon-to-be 5th wife gave him fellatio. I broke the news to Joshua that his father was dead. He simply shrugged and went back to disemboweling a teddy bear. I don't think he remembers what father is, or what life was before we came here. The town is infamous now. Some witty soul spray-painted Clowntown, USA, on the entrance sign. And that's how people know it. People who call themselves explorers trespass in its ruins and take pictures of the clowns and post them online. I have seen a few of these sites. They hypothesize that it's the dream project of a perverse billionaire, or the resting place of some kind of carnival of the damned. They take selfies with the dead-eyed murals that cover the remaining buildings, pick off clown statue arms and noses as souvenirs. It's like hell on earth, they say, if they only knew, if they only knew. They speak of a ghost in the Clowntown, a specter that is only ever seen from far away and in brief flashes. But it is not that of a middle-aged man with sad brown eyes and a prosthetic leg, no. It is a woman with unkept white hair and ghastly clown makeup, who leads the spirit of one of her doomed victims around by the hand. A little boy who probably perished in the natural gas explosion 30 years ago. Sometimes I see flashes of my son, but mostly he is the thing the town made him. I keep him occupied, I keep him happy, I keep him alive. We survive by foraging. When foot traffic becomes too much, I make a game of hiding to Joshua. We make houses in the underbrush and pretend we're army commandos hiding from the enemy. I can barely feel the paint on my face anymore. It is not a terrible life to lead. You get used to it. You get used to anything, and the day we can no longer live as we choose, the day they find us and try to separate us, I will let Josh get angry. I will not soothe him as his furnace burns hotter and hotter inside him. I will hold him tightly to me, and we will both go together. All I ask was for a simple life in a small town with my only son, and in the end, that is all I got.